Item E is discussions. Our first discussion of the morning is discussion and possible action regarding the designation of Port Arthur News as the city's official newspaper, requested by Councilmember Doucet. Councilmember Doucet.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. The reason for putting this item on the agenda is based on a couple of items or articles that was written by the Port Arthur News within the last 2 weeks. It's been declared and we approved the Port Arthur News as being our official newspaper. I'm quite sure we're probably one of their bigger clients with posting notices and all the notification. But for some time now, it's been articles that are written that have demeaned or opposed decisions by council and information given to citizens were strictly those of the person writing or someone giving that person the information. But the newspaper is not making an effort to ensure that the citizens understand both sides of it. And in order to get this point over and not try to take a lot of time, because we got a lot of things to do today, I'm going to give some information that a lot of people can look up and find for yourself. When we're talking about it being our official newspaper, let's take a look at the function of a newspaper. If you Google a function of a newspaper, you're going to basically find out, no matter which article or what you read, its main function is going to be to inform people. And they're going to say, in informing people, you'll find out that they say informing them so that people can be better informed for making decisions and based on facts. And that's the problem I have with the Port Arthur News being the official newspaper, whereby we are not given the fair opportunity for citizens to be informed of facts. Citizens should be able to decide. But when we have a newspaper that is going to give a version of it, that they're not taking the time to go and get the opposite view so that citizens can have a choice, it's no longer informing, it is misinforming. And this has not occurred since the time Mr. Rich Macke became publisher of the newspaper. I've never known the Port Arthur News to attack citizens, council, or council's decision in all of my time in the city of Port Arthur since Mr. Macke has taken over.
If just real quick, if we keep the personal names, I understand.
No, Mayor, this is all problem. This is the publisher of the paper, okay?
I know.
And it's dealing with that. It's dealing with the newspaper. So this is not no personal attack. This is facts, okay?
No, I understand. I'm saying that when you say Port Arthur News, we understand it's the whole everybody. So singling somebody out, I don't want us to be liable.
Mayor, Val, can you give some termination on that?
Yes, because it's not that this. I'm talking about.
I'm with you.
What's happening, and I'm giving people
Mayor,
the exact
point of
time and when this will start. Let me finish. Okay, it's not no personal attack.
No,
it's the fact. I'm saying that this has started when this person became publisher.
That was good. That was
okay,
perfect.
so if I say publisher and he's the publisher, it's understood.
There you go.
Okay. So, tomatoes. I want to make a point, okay? Now, also, there's more people complaining about the articles that are being written that's being biased and not happy with it. Now, I look at the articles. The Port Arthur News cover surrounding cities also. They cover Port Neches, Neyland, Rose, Orange. But when they do articles about those cities, their elected officials They don't attack. They don't demean. They don't criticize. You know, the Port Arthur News take the step of putting in there council member by name useless. That's totally unprofessional. If this paper is supposed to be informing citizens, and you're supposed to be trying to be fair and non-biased, you're going to call a council member useless, and this council member has been selected 3 times by the people in the district he serves. These are what I'm talking about. And to get to the point and not take up too much time, let's talk about the 2 articles that have brought this to this point. Okay, City Secretary, you got the articles put up?
Yes, sir. I couldn't get it to come on. I'm going to scan it real quick.
You couldn't get it to come up? Okay, well, don't worry about it. We got a lot of stuff to do today. I can talk about it. Okay? The first article was an article that appeared in the Port Arthur News dated, where was the date? Saturday, December the 2nd. Right in the center, big bold letters says, pricey outing for council. Pricey outing for council. All right. Webster Dictionary defines outing as outdoor pleasure trip. And if I look at that headline, that's exactly what I would think. A pricey outing, I would think they went out to an outing. But if you read the article, it's talking about the annual Texas Municipal League Conference. It's probably one of the most important conference that a councilman can attend in the state of Texas. You're not going to say conference. Pricey outing. This has got to stop. It wasn't an outing. Webster tells you that a conference is a formal interchange of views, a meeting of 2 or more persons for discussing matters of common concern. You read the article, and it even tells you some of the sessions that were held. But the newspaper went so far as placing every council member from Port Arthur who attended and what it cost. They had council members from Port Neches attending, Orange, Beaumont, Groves, Port Arthur. Now, why am I saying not be biased? Because if you'd have put the cost of those individuals attending, the people from mine probably been higher because they were traveling farther to Houston. So there's no need. That same article the Port Arthur News had already written about that, complaining, talking about council shouldn't have went. That newspaper shouldn't tell our citizens that our council members shouldn't be going to an important conference. Not if you want to be our official newspaper. Now, am I saying the Port Arthur News got to agree with every decision this council make? No. Am I saying that the Port Arthur News can't report that anything any one of these council members do to the public? No. But what I'm saying is the Port Arthur News need to make sure that what they print is a fact and that they take the time and the effort to give the citizens enough information so citizens can make their own determination on whether it's right or wrong, they approve or disapprove. This newspaper There's a lot of citizens that stopped the subscription because of the editorials and opinions. The publisher needs to understand that as a publisher, when you put your opinion in there and put your title, people have a tendency to believe that you're doing what newspapers do, giving them facts. They assume it's a fact because they know what newspapers do. We need to ensure that it's happening, especially if a newspaper we gonna adopt and approve as our official newspaper. I'll give you the last article, and then we're gonna let it go because of a lot of things on the agenda. And I think everybody's getting the point that I'm making here. We don't need to beat this to death. But the next article was an editorial by the publisher, dated December the 10th, Sunday, saying transparency needed in local council. Transparency needed in local council. And then the article goes on to talk about council has made decisions in the last 6 months with spending close, notice these words, close to 700. If you want to report it, go and do your information. If you do your research, you're going to know how much you're going to spend. We don't have to say close. Close to $700,000 that was unbudgeted and unplanned expense. Well, if he wants to talk about unbudgeted and unplanned expenses, get with the finance department and get the list of everything. These are not the only thing that we do that's unplanned and unbudgeted. And when we do it, it's done in this meeting, which is open, so it's transparent. But he decides that he's going to give the citizens of this city a breakdown on money that we spent unplanned and unbudgeted. One of the items being paying attorney Langston Adams $48,000. Why the city had to pay that much? If he had done his research, he would have found out. The court ordered the city to do it. The court ordered the city to do it. The city appealed. The court ordered arbitration. And it was a settlement the way we do all cases. That was $48,000. Now we're talking 700. Keep counting the money because you'll find out we ain't gonna be near no 700 in the end. Okay. The next thing he talks about is Mr. Parker's contract, canceling of $72,000. Terminate. He tries to associate this with the city going to have to pay more money to a attorney that during the case, when the cases he was assigned going to have to now be redistributed. That ain't the case. If he'd have done his homework, he'd have found out Mr. Parker has done very few cases. Very few. So, once again, that is false. You're misleading instead of informing, you're misinforming our citizens. Terminating that contract had nothing to do with whether our legal fees go up with the cases with the civil service, because that will be determined only on two things. One, how long the cases last and how many cases. We don't need you to misinform. Citizens want to know what's going on down there. Give them the facts, though. Don't make us look incompetent by giving your opinion. He also moves along. He started talking about the Breeze, giving the Breeze $30,000. What are the questions he asks in this article? Why spend $30,000? I can ask why we spend all the money we pay him to do our notices. Okay? He says, who does the station reach? It reaches citizens in Port Arthur. Everything we do may not encompass everybody, but somebody benefits from it. Councilman goes on it. City managers have appeared on there passing out information and being questioned. Staff has been there, the different staffs. Police chief. We got different people, small business communication goes there, pass out information. All this is information being passed out to citizens who want to know and can benefit from it. It doesn't have to be for everybody. But why make this a big deal? Because people you telling, or you have the ability to be able to say it and think it's going to be okay? No. Everyone has to answer someone. And he says, where some council members, wait, I'm going to say it right. But it's where a handful of council members host weekly radio shows. There's only one council member that has a weekly radio show on that station. That's me. I've been doing it since 2013. Since 2013. Had nothing to do with me sitting here. I've been doing it. And it's only to inform citizens. And I'll talk about things that citizens should understand. Then we talk about elected officials. Like I said earlier, the Port Arthur News covers Beaumont, Needland, Pro Nature's Grove there. When it's come to elections, they'll put the candidates and their information and a picture in the newspaper. And that's all. In Port Arthur, they will put your name in there. Then they want to endorse you. Then the person they don't endorse, what they do, they start saying things about you because they didn't do it. They want to try to explain to citizens why they didn't choose you. This is supposed to be our newspaper. It's supposed to be giving citizens information so they can make their own decisions. But instead, it's like what you write is what we want you to know. That's not what newspapers do. Newspaper deals with facts. Those facts are supposed to better inform citizens so citizens can make the right decision. These two articles is the reason I brought this to the council. And I choose to make a motion for council to take actions because this is not going to be acceptable any longer in this city by us on this council. And now citizens deserve to at least have a newspaper that's going to be non-biased and going to give them facts so that they could be better informed and make better decisions. And at the end of the day, we're not asking for the newspaper to agree with everything we say. We're just asking that the information you put out, take the time and make sure that it's factual. Make sure that citizens get the chance to hear both sides and be able to be better informed. That's what it is about. So, Mary, I'm going to yield right now until everyone has discussed it, and then I'd like to make a motion.
Councilman Swati.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilman Doucet, do you mind sharing that article with me since it's not up on the screen? I don't have a copy of it with me. And sorry, I wasn't in the country, so I haven't read this article personally. This one right here. Thank you. I'm kind of curious to know what sort of action are you intending on taking regarding the matter, aside from the news articles that the PA News has been publishing, naming whomever are in these articles. My concern is more on the lines of what we're required to do by charter. And, you know, Ordinance 91-035, we've elected Port Arthur News as the city's official newspaper. There's local government code that defines what a newspaper entails. There's Article 2 of the city charter that also talks about how we're supposed to publish our ordinances or notifications or anything serious matters that have to do with the city, actions that we're taking, so that citizens are made aware of that. So I'm more curious on the lines of what action do you intend on taking, just in response to, to your concern regarding the articles that are being published in the paper. That also concerns me. That also concerns me to the sense of we here are all elected officials, and I believe as elected officials we should all be open to criticism and questioning at all times. It is our duty as elected officials to counter any opinion out there that someone may have that the city council is doing or not doing. For instance, you brought up, and I'm only responding to this because you brought this up, otherwise I don't like to bring this topic up at all. The court did not order to pay Langston Adams $48,000. Okay, the court ordered for us to go into arbitration or mediation or whatever you want to call it. The court did not order to pay $48,000. This council decided to pay $48,000 for whatever those reasons are. Now, as elected officials, if we want to counter some person's opinion why this council would pay $48,000, then that's our job to be transparent and tell this public why we decided to pay Langston Adams $48,000. There's no response to paying $30,000 to the Breeze radio station. All your response was, why are we paying you all this money for advertisements? But I'd definitely like to know why we paid the Breeze radio station $30,000, a radio station that can't be heard throughout the entire city. I mean, if we're trying to advertise, if we're trying to publish notices, if we're trying to make the citizens aware of what this council is doing, let's at least use an avenue that's going to reach out to majority of the citizens. What do you refer to as non-biased news? You know, I have a very serious stand on what you would call non-biased news, because your I guess social media guru on the internet calls me a terrorist and says I'm going to declare jihad against the city, and should I consider that non-biased news? No, you bring these points up and they're very serious to me because how they've attacked me throughout my career, and I don't feel like the Port Arthur News. You're attacking an entity because of someone's personal opinion. If someone has this personal opinion about this council or about how the city is operating things, then we should change that opinion. We should change that opinion by calling this person upon and asking him, why does he have this opinion? This is not why we're doing these things. This is not the reason why this is happening. This is not why these non-actions are taking place. So honestly, as nobody's perfect. None of us are perfect. We are council members. We're as human as everybody else in this city. But attacking an entity because your personal feelings are hurt is not the way to go about doing business. If you have a plan in mind, let's say, for instance, the law states that we need to use a newspaper to publish our notices. Well, tell me what your plan is if we intend on removing Port Arthur News as our official newspaper. Tell me what your plan is. What avenue are we going to use so we stay in accordance with law? And I'd like to hear something like that, rather than badgering an entity because, you know, they're just stating opinions. And it's not even the entity. It's one person, one individual's opinions, and you're going after that. You mentioned that Port Arthur is one of the bigger clients of the Port Arthur News. So does that mean that the Port Arthur News should just publish rainbow, sunshine, and flowers all over the paper? I mean, come on, guys, look around us. what's going on in our city. Let's focus on these things. This is why the newspaper's here, to remind us on what is not happening here and what we need to be doing. Let us be constantly reminded. We are all humans, and we require to be constantly reminded on what we need to be doing, what we need to be focusing on. Now, I feel like a personal attack against someone that works for a paper is not the way to go about doing business, not professionally, in my point of view.
Okay.
Councilman Doucet.
Okay, Councilman Swati. Evidently, you wasn't awake when I was talking, because I answered most of those questions that you just covered. Okay? And you don't know the definition of non-bias? Non-bias is simply you're not leaning toward one side or the other side. Okay? So it's obvious what that was meant. When you talk about the newspaper, you talk about attacking the newspaper for one person. That's why I said the publisher. The publisher is the head of the newspaper. The publisher is the one that determines and approves what goes in and not goes in the newspaper. So if you're going to talk about what the newspaper does, then that's the person you're going to hold accountable, Councilman, is the person that's in charge. It's that simple. The Breeze, you're a councilman, and you're going to take that approach about why. I can't believe it, because you ought to know you could pull the contract up. The contract of the Breeze will tell you exactly what they're supposed to do. Exactly. So everything you're talking about and asking, that's because you're not informed. But what I said speaks for itself. I'm talking about non-bias. You're talking about they're supposed to say everything good about council members, or we should be able to accept that. If you were listening to me speak, I said the paper do not have to agree with every decision we make. I specifically stated that if a councilman does something, that the paper can do it. My point is, if you're going to write and tell both sides. If you're going to give information to our citizens, let them know as much factual information as you possibly can. Let them make their decision based on facts, not on an opinion. And you say the newspaper, as opposed to one person, that person is the publisher. That person runs the newspaper. So that person is the person you need to hold accountable. This is nothing personal. You are all out of line for trying to make this say I'm personal. If you're listening, and you listen to what citizens are saying out there, this should not be the first time you heard nothing I said. Don't say it's personal. It's not personal. And if it's something else you want me to give you a fact about, I'll do that. Just ask the question. But the fact of the matter is, when a person reads a newspaper, they're going to believe what they're reading, because the function and purpose of the newspaper is to inform citizens, as I stated earlier, but we're supposed to use facts. And those two articles, you say you were out of town. Where do you have them? You should have read them. They speak for themselves. You think it's okay for someone to tell the citizens that the council went on an outing and he went to a conference? You think it's okay to tell citizens, well, it's only 90 miles away, they ought to get up and drive every morning? Read the articles. Refer to other articles. Because that's all I'm saying. It's not about personal. It's what's being written. And as for my motion, you don't know what my motion is. You ask me, you would like to know what my motion is. When I make it, you'll know.
Sure.
I'm not supposed to tell you. I said I have a motion to make. Don't sound personal.
Councilman Swati.
Thank you, Mayor. It's nothing but personal. It's based on the facts and statements being made. If a paper states that council is going on an outing and talking about how much money is being spent on an outing, I think it's the council's job to tell the public what they learned on that outing and what they gained from there and what they're bringing back to the city. But, that's aside the point. I'd like to know what the motion is, and so I can make an informed judgment based on that motion.
Councilman Scott.
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, Councilman Swati, we haven't been using that process of telling citizens what we learned from the conference, but that's easy to be done. That could easily be done. That hasn't been the process. But that could be done to the citizens if we choose to. We can do that. Second thing is about the Breeze not reaching out to all the citizens. Port Arthur News don't reach out to every citizen. So where you measure that at? And then, Councilman Swati, you're one of the ones that's never been probably talked about in Port Arthur newspaper, but I have. And I've been on this council. This is my third term. And the people elected me 3 times. But the third time when I ran, I was told to the people, I'm not the one should be at the council for this district. So a lot of articles have been written. No one contacted me. No one talked to me in regards to what I was doing for the citizens in District 1. The citizens just stood with me because they knew who had been working for them. So these type of things have been written, Councilman Swati. I guess you've never been bashed or you've never been talked about in the newspaper as maybe not doing your job. But I have. And this is my third term, Councilman Swati, on council. Again, it's nothing personal. Because anytime the Port Arthur News call me and want to discuss with me about certain issues, I have the right to do so. And I have the right to choose so. But that doesn't make me not the person to represent my constituents in my district when they have constantly elected me to 3 terms. Nothing personal, Councilman Swati. Thank you.
Councilman Moses.
Thank you, Mayor. Let me say that there are a lot of things that we in media that you can take or let go because everybody have their opinions. I don't like personally the article that was printed. Read the article. I thought it was demeaning to us as council members because I go to conferences to learn. And definitely, Councilmember Swati, I could certainly write what classes I attended and what I've taken back from those conferences. I don't see the same thing published about Port Neches. I agree with you, Councilman Doucet. Port Neches, Needle in the Groves, as far as even football, as far as that for even our youth. So I don't see the Port Arthur News being. I don't take the paper, and it's because it's negative toward our citizens and toward the council, and I'm disappointed in what I've seen recently. But we have to follow the guidelines as Councilman Swati has stated, and I don't know what the motion is that Councilman Doucet has. I'll wait to hear it. But we have to have a newspaper designated in Port Arthur. I think that the Port Arthur News needs to clean it up when talking about the city and get the facts, print facts. It's open. I think everything we have and that we do here, it's available through the city secretary's office for you to find out what actually happened, or call somebody to talk with them that will give you the information, that will tell you what actually happened. It's not hidden. We're very transparent. ask us, and I'll be glad to tell you, rather than printing a lie. Because it's very disappointing when you take all of your heart and you work hard. But this is not personal. It shouldn't be taken as a personal attack. We're talking about the city of Port Arthur. I looked at the article, threw the paper to the side. I knew what I did when I went to TML. I knew what classes I attended on Hurricane Harvey recovery. I knew exactly what I went there for, purpose and focused. So I took the article and just tossed it. As you have to do with KBMT 12, as you have to do with 12 News Now and Channel 6 and Channel 4. It's all opinionated. So we have to take the good, take the bad, and decide what we're going to do. But we have to know what the ordinance requires for us to have in place for the city. Until there's another Port Arthur newspaper, I'd like to know the plan that we will have. I'm not going to vote on anything unless it's going to be to enhance, to do something better for Port Arthur. Maybe we need to sit at the table with Rich Macke or whoever, the publisher, the owner, the editor, whoever it is, and say, listen, we need a better light, better reporting on Port Arthur. What you're doing now is not working for us. We need something better said. I'm disgusted with it when I see that, of course, again, I'm being repetitive. Port Neches, Nederland, there's nothing said negative about them ever. Not ever. But every time it comes to Port Arthur, we're dogged. No, I don't like it. That's personal, because I said I don't like it. But what's best at this time for the city is what we have to look at. What can we do to not put the city in jeopardy of the ordinance? I don't know all the particulars with that. What is the ordinance, as Swati has said, 91035 is what we require to have a newspaper designated. I don't know the plan, Councilman Doucet, but we have to have a plan of action. If you do, I would have preferred being shared or have had some kind of idea of where we were going before we got to this on live TV and live here, and not understanding at that moment making a decision on a motion. I'd like to know the plan before I'm just given something here. So I've stated, just that you want to know how I feel. We can't learn in this position that we have. You can't take it personal. Some gonna like it, some not. Some gonna dog you, some won't. You just got to take the good, the bad, and the ugly, roll up your sleeves, and come to the table and see what we can do to make Port Arthur a better city.
Councilman Lewis.
You know, why don't we just call it what it really is? It's called yellow journalism. And you know, you can look down and laugh. You know exactly what I'm talking about. It's called yellow journalism. When the truth is absent. You're not entitled to an opinion if you're not stating facts. You're not entitled to an opinion. Randolph Hearst, Joseph Pulitzer published false articles. They published false articles. They got 379 U.S. citizens killed because they published a false article. They wrote these articles and created tension, about a ship that was going to be blown up. A lie. Y'all heard of it, the Spanish-American War. They helped create it. Killed 379 U.S. citizens. It is called, that is how yellow journalism got started. When we dealt with the voting right case, you know what helped us to win the voting right case? The exhibits that we put into the court was yellow journalism. The exhibits was the Port Arthur News. How they printed it, it was biased, and it is continued today. I met the publisher for the first time. I was introduced to the publisher by I call him Big Ed, and he mentioned to me, we need to move our printing press and everything back to Port Arthur. Could you help us get a location. I said, well, I'll meet your publisher. He introduced me to the publisher. I met the man one time, and I told him, I said, we can probably help you with this because get with the EDC and get with Floyd Batiste, and we can help you find a location to move you back. Only discussion I ever had with him. Next thing I knew, all kind of articles were being written about me. He just got here, prior to 1989. So they got a file that they keep to keep the negativism going and keep the yellow journalism going. That's what they do. That's what they do. If you're not going to print the facts, you are not entitled to an opinion. Now, the issue is the article in the city charter clearly states has nothing to do with the Port Arthur News, has nothing to do with a Port Arthur paper. It clearly states a paper, a newspaper circulated in the Port Arthur area. That's what it says. Has nothing to do with the Port Arthur News. Now, in the past, now if you put it in an ordinance, mention the Port Arthur News, and you'll find that I voted against it. Okay? But it has nothing in that charter says nothing about the Port Arthur News. It says a newspaper widely circulated in the city of Port Arthur. That's all we're required to do. We're not required to issue pay money to Port Arthur News. No. The Breeze. We purchased time from the Breeze. The Port Arthur News. From within a 1 year span, I haven't got the numbers. Last year, we published about annexation, $102,000. $102,000. This year, within we extended the thing. Okay, we gave them an extension. Well, at least one extension. One of the companies we brought under the same umbrella, but we published it at least a couple of times this year. That's another $100,000. Well, why is it a gift? $30,000 is a gift to the Breeze.
Councilman Lewis, if I could just let's not compare the Breeze. Let's just keep it to the designation of Port Arthur News. The city attorney's I know the city attorney.
The Breeze was in the article. Read the article.
Yes, sir. I understand. But the city attorney's been on me just staying on the possible regard designation of Port Arthur.
City attorney, you got a problem with what I'm saying?
What is posted? Let me just give my answer to everybody. What is posted is to talk about the designation of an official newspaper. And so we need to stay on what's posted. So that I'm not trying to cut anybody off, but I'm just reminding everybody that's the topic we have posted.
That is the posted.
We don't want to talk about other cases and other issues.
Hold on, man.
Yes, sir.
Hold on, city attorney. So we're not to discuss what got us to this point.
That's not what's posted. What's posted is...
The judge will kick you out of court if you file a case and go there and not discuss what brought you there.
What is posted is the designation of an official paper. Yeah. I understand you have to give background. I'm just kind of trying to get us back on focus.
Give background. Yes. That's how we got to this point.
Okay. But yeah, the focus is just on that.
But look, I'm not going to beat this horse. All we got to do is find out what the motion is going to be, and we vote on this motion. Okay? So I don't have to deal with this.
Thank you, Councilman Lewis. Councilman Swati.
Thank you, Mayor. Finally, I'd just like to say the First Amendment to the United States Constitution says Congress shall make no law abridging the freedom of speech or of the press. Freedom of speech is the liberty to speak openly without fear or government restraint. We as a council cannot block, censor, or shut down an entity within the city because of our personal feelings are hurt or affected. And so at this time, I would love to hear the motion that Councilman Doucet would like to bring forward.
I got one. Mayor Pro Tem, you haven't spoken yet. I don't know if you had something for the topic.
Yes, Mayor. No reflection on whoever got endorsed by the PA News. No reflection. I'm glad for him, happy for him. I tried hard to get endorsed. I went up there several times, talked to a good friend of mine, Ed Kessler, and, I worked in the car business 29 years, spent a lot of money, put out the news. I did all the right things to get endorsed. Still couldn't get endorsed. So whoever got endorsed, I'm happy for him. But whoever didn't get endorsed, caught hell then and catching hell now from the news. Okay, and it's like it's not going away. And the news has been very divisive to this city. And I wish the black citizens, the white citizen, Hispanic, Vietnamese, and others could see that this paper has been very, very divisive. I mean, you look at it, this on the island, supposedly the island in Houston, Beaumont went, Galveston went, I mean Beaumont, Orange, the whole this area, but we was singled out, you know, Port Arthur, okay? And like Councilor Moses said about Port Nation and Needland, even in sports, I follow sports heartily, you know, that's my pet peeve. When Memorial's winning these big games, front line on the sports page, Leland Bulldogs, Port Neches Grove Indians, Memorial Way in the back page. And that's supposed to be a Port Arthur paper. And Memorial High School's in Port Arthur, not Leland the Groves, you know, all this kind of stuff, you know. And then I went to Houston and said we could have drove back and forth 90 miles and come back every day, yeah, and all that traffic and the inconvenience in us, you know. Then they want to say about 5 and 6 it'll be gone next year and 18, why they had to go, you know. That's council business, not Port Arthur news business, you know. So I want to have a Councilman Doucet motion, and I'm almost 150%. I'm gonna go along with it.
Okay, I'll make my comments for it. Guys, I appreciate, you know, bringing it forward, but I've taken heat from Port Arthur News. I take it from The Breeze. I take it from everybody. So I've learned that it comes along.
Point of order.
Yes, sir.
When you took some heat from the Port Arthur News.
Okay. I'll talk about it. My name was in the article. I was first listed, the one you're talking about. I don't know what you're saying. It's like I'm the first one on the city outing. So, but again, like I was saying, if I could just make my comment without interruption, I didn't interrupt anyone else. So again, I take it from both sides, and although sometimes I don't agree, sometimes it may tug at a personal feeling. I understand that this is part of the job. We're public servants, and for us to, part of the charter is we have to post things in the paper with the largest circulation. So my encouragement is they're a business, and part of what they make their money is with circulation. And if their circulation is up and the circulation is, they're getting the money that the consumers want or what they need or whatever you want to say, however you want to classify it, the consumers are talking because they have the circulation there. So if we had another paper in the city of Port Arthur that had a larger circulation, that means that the consumers, the citizens that we're so worried about, that we've all been talking about, have made their decision on who they want to spend their money with, what business that they want to provide them with information in the city of Port Arthur. So it's enterprise, it's free enterprise. And Councilman Swati talked about the constitutional rights as far as free speech. But again, everybody takes heed. They say things on both sides, from every media outlet, from online, offline, TV, film, print. We get it from everywhere. So to single somebody out on personal feelings, I just think is the wrong thing. And again, and especially Triangle Days. Nobody talks about that, but every 2 years, Councilman Lewis, I get ran up for Golden Triangle Days. Everybody up here every 2 years gets run up for that. So I get it every year. I get it, and the articles are predictable. As soon as we do this, here comes this article. So again, it just seems like this is some type of a personal thing where we need to all put our big boy pants on, no matter where it comes from, KBMT to the print, and do realize that we have to do a job for our citizens no matter what, and do the best that we can. So I would encourage people to buckle up the pants today. Councilman Doucet.
I'm going to do my motion.
Yeah, go ahead. There's no other light. Oh, Councilman Scott, light on. I'm sorry. Did you have something on it?
Yeah, I have something on it, Mayor.
What you got?
This is not about any big boy pants.
Okay.
Okay. First of all, Port Arthur News is the only paper here. If they had some competition, they might not be our choice.
They have a few. They have a few different newspapers.
Like I said,
they just don't have the circulation.
Excuse me.
I won't interrupt you. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
Okay, because you're sitting there in your chair. Okay. So What I'm saying is, yes, Port Arthur News has been the one getting our business. But again, Mayor, this is not about big boy pants. This is not about personal. So many facts have been given today. And it has not been personal at all. Okay? It's been about Potent Nature's Groves. We got other surrounding cities that do the same thing we do. Okay? But there is no negative comment about how they do it and why they do it. So this is not anything personal. If we're paying a paper and we're putting money into this newspaper and one of the biggest funding for the newspaper, then the newspaper should hear what we have to say. And we're asking them to hear what we're saying. Okay? And nobody's trying to stop anybody, the Constitution. Nobody's trying to do that at all. That's not even here. So I don't even understand why that even come about the Constitution and all this. This is not about us stopping no one and their rights. It's about hearing us today as council members, as a city who pay a numerous amount of money to a newspaper, but yet we don't get the same treatment as anybody else around us. This is just all about, not no big boy pants, okay? So all this rhetoric, let's leave it alone. We just want the newspaper to hear us saying, we don't think that this is fair, we're being fairly treated. So talk to us, show us. That's what we're saying today, okay? That's it, Mayor. Thank you.
Councilman Scott, just to add to it, if that was the only statement that was made from the dais today, then I would agree with you. Then let's move forward. There are other people. I talked to several other mayors, the mayor of Groves, the mayor of Orange, the mayor while we were at TML. So other people were there, yes, sir. But when we start talking about who gets endorsed and how many times they attacked me and who, it starts to sound personal, not to me, but to people that are listening. So I'm just advising us. I'm just saying for us,
go ahead.
With the personal, let's keep that to the side. If you want to say let's get some fair exposure for all the surrounding cities, everybody that's in your circulation, let's make sure you're doing, getting them some time. Let's keep it there. But when we start talking about, I've been on 3 years and I never got endorsement and they did this to. I
never said an endorsement. I said I've been on
here 3 years.
I said I've been on 3 terms. Listen to what I said again, because you're using this rhetoric. You use it again. Okay. I said I've been on council. This is my 3rd time being elected on council. No one talked to me about what my plans are or what I was doing for the city, for the citizens, my constituents. They just said the other candidate was better, and I wasn't worth anything.
That's it.
Hold on for a second. So. That's personal.
No, I can't have anything from the audience.
Excuse me. So I'm saying, I didn't bring it personal. That's what we tried to show today. That a lot of personal stuff has been put in the newspaper, that's right, and we want to stop it. That's all it is, Mayor. Okay? So that's what we're talking about today. That's all we're talking about. I'm not saying who they supported. I'm saying if you would have talked to me and understood what my plans and what I've been doing for my constituents, but you have not, but you come to agreement that I'm not the right person for this district when the citizens have chosen me two consecutive times and a 3rd time. So you want to stay away from the personal stuff, but the personal stuff is in the newspaper. Mm-hmm. Okay? So don't talk to me about staying away from the personal stuff. I'm not being personal. I'm just saying facts. Right. Facts.
Okay, so
Thank you.
So the thing you're asking today is for the Port Arthur News to stop printing personal stuff?
Excuse me. I'm through with it, Mayor.
Okay.
Well, I'm through with it. Okay?
Just because you're through doesn't mean I'm through.
No. I'm just saying, don't ask me a question. Thank you.
Okay. Well, you don't have to answer, but I'll still ask it, if you don't mind. So your question today is, we're asking the Port Arthur News to stop printing personal stuff? You don't have to answer. Councilman Doucet.
Okay. Mayor, I'm going to tell you, if everyone that listening, you go back and review this, I never said anything personal. I gave you all facts. My whole item and discussion was that the Port Arthur News was not being fair with printing. That's what I said. I said it throughout. I gave examples for people to identify with. Now, everybody's been talking about personal. It wasn't personal. It was about the facts. It's two things that got us here today. One is that a newspaper is supposed to inform citizens so they could make better decisions based on facts. That's the first thing. And I brought you articles where the newspaper didn't do that. So that was my point. As far as saying we can't stop them from pressing, or I've heard, well, I want to hear, we should have talked about this before. No, we shouldn't have talked about this before. This item just came before us. What you need to do is everyone needs to listen to what is being said, then make decisions. I said I had a motion to make. Everybody has talked about ideas of what I'm going to move. I haven't made the motion. We mentioned ordinance. I know ordinance probably better than most on this dice. And freedom of press, I understand that. So at the end of the day, after all discussion, my motion is that the council direct that the city attorney sends a letter to the owners of the Port Arthur News expressing our concerns that the articles that being written, that they be fair, non-biased, and non-attacking of this city, as it has in the past. And that a video of this meeting be sent along with it so that owner can hear everything that was said up here today. So it's not the idea of trying to stop them from printing. It's not the idea of trying to stop them from not opposing what we said. It's from what I brought up in the beginning, being fair and non-biased. That's the whole thing about what I wanted. So I never intended on trying to say don't use the newspaper. The newspaper is important to our community. Very important. And the owners are the ones that's going to be responsible to say.
And Councilman Doucet, I have a second for that, for
I
your
have a
motion.
third.
I'll give you the second. There you go. This,
And I have a
of
fourth.
course. Questions on the motion, Councilman? Hold on, wait a minute. I got everybody clicked on their light at once. I didn't know were y'all talking or trying to second the motion.
I'm
You're trying to second?
No,
Okay.
I want to talk.
You want to, Councilman? Well, Councilman Swati's right before you. Go ahead, Councilman. You want to
Yeah, go ahead, Lord.
Councilman Lewis.
Look, I just want to remind the chair, anytime the chair gets involved in a debate, you have to release the chair. You can't occupy both spaces. You have to release it to the mayor pro tem. You can't do what you're doing. The city attorney, you need to bring up to date on those things.
Please, up to date both of us. Thank you. Councilman Swati.
Thank you, Mayor. Now, I'd like some clarification on what kind of notice we're putting Port Arthur News on. So who establishes what's fair? Who establishes what's non-biased? Who establishes what's non-attacking? Does this council establish that? So basically, and let me just answer that. I guess this council is going to establish what's going to be fair, non-biased, and non-attacking. So the council puts the Port Arthur News on notice that you are not going to print articles that are unfair, biased, and attacking towards the city of Port Arthur. And if you don't call that fear of government restraint, I don't know what you're going to call fear of government restraint. So, City Attorney, before you send a notice to Port Arthur News, why don't you check what our city legal limitations are on putting someone on that kind of notice? Let's work through this before you actually go forward in doing that. I'm not in favor of any notice.
All you got to do is vote, Councilman.
Can I say something?
Yeah, of course.
I'll be happy to do whatever directive, follow through with any directive the council gives. I may have some legal concerns that I can express to you at the appropriate time and under the appropriate posting. But I'll be happy to follow through and work on a draft. And prior to sending that, I may have some legal questions that I'd like to discuss with you all about that. But we can do that in the appropriate form. But I will work on the draft, and like I said, I may have some legal questions that I would not like to hold up in open session. But I'll work on that. I'll be happy to follow the council's directive. I just may have some legal issues to talk to you about.
Mayor Pro Tem.
The manager will work with me on that too.
Well,
so
Yes, Mayor, it's only a letter that Councilman Doucet recommend we send.
It's a letter with legal implications.
Yeah, I mean, it's a letter. Council, if the council agreed to send it, then we'll worry about the legal repercussions or whatever comes up. But here we go again, being divisive. It's just like America divided, now Pro divided, and we got people dividing us. So be careful, council people. Be careful, citizens. We divided again, but we got a motion on the floor. We got a second. I think it's going to vote on the motion.
Councilman Doucet.
Yes, we're going to vote on the motion, but once again, City Attorney, I made a motion that we send a letter to the owners of this newspaper stating concerns about articles being written that are negative about the city, and that we ask that information being given to citizens be given more of a factual nature than an opinionated nature. Now, I could get more specific, but what? Sending a letter expressing a concern is not legal implication, not expressing a concern. If we send a letter saying we're going to cancel a contract, we're going to do, are you telling me that a letter of concern is legal?
no.
Well, that is, well, stick with what my motion is, and don't go my motion out.
I'm not throwing your motion out. No, I said
All
I'll be happy to comply with what the council has asked. If I have some other questions, we can talk about it later. But I'll be happy to comply, get the draft, and get it the way you all want it. But
All right.
I may have some sidebar things to talk about, and I just wanted to let you know that. But I don't have a problem with
Well,
what
we're going to have
you've
to
asked.
approve the letter anyway.
You have to
before
approve
you
the letter,
send it.
right. And
So
there may be
I
some things
understand
to
that.
talk about.
Okay.
Okay, that's
right.
all. Thank you.
Okay.
So we're in the middle of the motion now. Just real quick, Councilman Doucet, I second the motion because I think my understanding is we're going to send a video of this meeting and then just send the letter as there shouldn't be anything in the letter. This meeting should be enough.
See, that's the purpose of sending the video, because the individual will get a chance to hear what people had to say and everything. So that pretty much explains it.
But that's what I'm saying about the letter. I don't back to Councilman Swati and the attorney's thing on putting stuff in the letter.
No, I'm not. I didn't say that. All I said is
I'm just getting it
expressing our concerns that it's not being fair, and the video is going to be the telling thing. That's why I
you
put
saying
the
it on
telling.
that video is
Yeah,
you know the letter.
Right.
From my understanding, the letter is City of Port Arthur. Attached is a video of our past.
Yeah,
meetings
something
what
of that
we had,
nature.
but us giving caveats.
Oh
and
no,
legal
no.
ramifications, that's
I'm not into that. The video will speak for itself.
Okay. Councilman Lewis.
City Attorney, along with that video, it's all public record.
That's it. That's what I was.
Send the tape,
That's it.
because things happens with video. Information is lost. I've experienced that. Send the tape as the backup.
You're saying transcribed audio tape? What are you asking for now, Councilman Lewis? Y'all asking for a lot of stuff right now.
You just confused. What I'm saying, you send the tapes of the meeting, not the minutes. The tape that's taping the minutes, the actual detail of everything that's been discussed here, which is supposed to be recorded back there. Send that too.
So you want that too? You want the video and the audio tape?
It's not
And
rocket
the
science.
record?
That's what I said.
All right. Let's clear our motion up, y'all. Let's clear our motion up on what we're motioning right now. We're motioning to send the video of this. Councilman Doucet, help me out. We're sending. Your motion is to send the video with the letter that says.
Hey, whatever council thinks that we need to send. My motion is just that we send something to express our concerns. Those who have a concern. Not all councilmen have a concern from what I heard today. But those who have concerns, I'm quite sure our concerns are generated from what citizens also and what we hear out in the public. So I'm not going to dictate the motion anymore. I've made the motion, so if any councilman wants to contribute to cleaning it up, then I'm amenable to that.
Okay. How can, if I could, the motion be that we direct staff to send a copy of this meeting, video, digital record, audio record, right, Councilman Lewis, with a transmittal letter that says that from the City of Port Arthur with our letterhead, this is tape of discussion, put the item number down.
We ask that you review.
Yes, exactly. We ask that you review.
Okay. That's fine.
Okay.
That's fine.
All right. Councilman Swati.
Thank you, Mayor. So we started with stopping the PA News from unfair, bias, and attacking to addressing our concerns now. And if we rewind this tape, and about 45 minutes ago, I may have said that if we have a problem with something being published in the paper, let's pick up the phone, let's call them, let's talk to them, and let's say, hey, this is wrong, you need to correct this. And we could have done that 45 minutes ago, but that's fine. This is how, I guess, things go here. I'm okay with the motion of addressing our concerns to the right people of Port Arthur News.
Councilman Lewis.
Councilman Swati, what you have to understand, the reason they write these false yellow journalism is to try to provoke council into responding to what they are putting, what the yellow journalism is printing, in order to create a debate to try to sell more newspaper. And I have been refusing to respond to that. You write it one time, it dies.
All right. That was a lengthy discussion. That make sure we have a long enough tape to send the video, if we could. There's a motion on the floor. Do I have I seconded actually. Motion and a second that we send tape with transmittal letter accompany. Questions? All those in favor? Aye. Opposals? Ayes have it.